Today, we will present 4 horror stories. But first, a quick fact you don't want to miss. Watching scary movies isn't for everyone. About half of Americans surveyed in a recent Kebs News poll said they enjoy watching scary movies. But half say they do not. Why do you think that is? Comment in the comment section below. Now, let's begin the story. Story 1. Beware of the full moon. In the heart of a dense and dark forest lay a remote village, shrouded in mystery and shadowy secrets. The villagers had always lived in the shadow of the forest's mysteries and feared what lurked in the silence of the night. The people of the village had grown accustomed to living under a constant sense of danger, but it was one special night when everything would change. It was a cold autumn evening, with the full moon illuminating the forest as if it wanted to reveal its deepest secrets. The villagers had gathered in the old wooden church, with candles flickering in the cool breeze and the church bells ringing in the night. The priest stood at the altar, his voice trembling as he prayed to the gods for protection from what had haunted the forest for centuries. Suddenly, a horrifying howl echoed from the forest. It was a sound the villagers had heard before, a sound that filled them with dread. They knew the werewolf was on the hunt. For generations, stories had circulated about a curse that had befallen one of their own, transforming him into a terrifying werewolf. The men of the village armed themselves and, accompanied by dogs, ventured into the forest to capture the werewolf and break the curse. The women and children prayed for their safety, while the priest lit candles and prayed even more fervently. After hours of hunting and tension, the men returned to the village. They were pale and weary, their clothes torn and dirty, but they also carried something that would shock the village. Instead of capturing the werewolf, they had found a man, one of their own, bloody and weak in the woods. His name was Eric, one of the village's oldest and most respected residents. Eric told a dark tale. He had been the werewolf for several years, battling his inner demon every night. He had become a creature of evil, committing heinous acts during his transformations. But his love for the village and its people had kept him in the forest, protecting them from himself. The villagers were in shock. They had always feared the werewolf, but now they realized that their greatest enemy had been one of their own, a man who had sacrificed his own life to protect them. They decided to forgive Eric and help him free himself from the curse. So, with the priest's prayers and the support of the villagers, Eric fought against his inner demon. It was a long and painful process, but eventually it seemed that the curse had been broken. The villagers felt a relief they hadn't experienced in a long time, and they embraced Eric with open arms. But the night after the celebration, the village was once again haunted by howls. The men rushed into the forest, but this time they found nothing. When they returned to the village, it was abandoned. No people remained. The houses stood empty and silent, with only the cold autumn wind rustling through the trees. It turned out that the werewolf was not Eric, but the curse had spread to others. They had a terrible realization. The werewolf was now free, and it had taken the entire village into the forest, beyond all hope of rescue. Only the priest remained, alone in the deserted village, with the moon illuminating the night and a sense of lost hope. The secrets of the forest had finally claimed their toll, and the village would never be the same again. Story 2. The Cursed Pumpkin. It was a chilly autumn evening when Alex decided to visit the infamous pumpkin patch, known as the Hollows Harvest. This place had garnered a sinister reputation for being home to the most bizarre and cursed pumpkins in the region. It was nestled deep within a dense, dark forest, miles away from civilization. Magnus Hollow, the elderly proprietor, had forewarned Alex and the few other visitors about the necessity of choosing a pumpkin with great care. These pumpkins, he insisted, were cursed by an ancient, malevolent force. After a meticulous search, Alex discovered a particularly peculiar pumpkin. It had menacing crimson veins that meandered around its surface, resembling sinister blood vessels. Alex, an avid nature enthusiast and imbued with an insatiable curiosity, selected the treacherous pumpkin, and left a generous sum of money for Magnus. Upon returning home, Alex embarked on the process of carving the pumpkin in preparation for Halloween. As his knife pierced the skin, a chilling, otherworldly whisper seemed to emanate from the very pumpkin. The words were indistinct, but the sound was as bone-chilling as the autumn wind. Unperturbed, he continued to hollow out the pumpkin until it was completely void of its insides. Once he had finished, he disposed of the remaining pumpkin bits in the trash and went to bed. The following day, Alex woke up to a horrifying sight. The carved pumpkin had vanished, and in its place were a series of dirty, muddy footprints that led from the kitchen to his bedroom. His heart raced with terror as he realized that something unimaginable had occurred. He followed the footsteps to his bedroom and discovered that his mirror was smeared with blood. The message written in red letters read, "You can't cut me away." Terrified and overwhelmed with panic, Alex understood that something malevolent had been set free from the cursed pumpkin. This sinister entity now haunted his every moment. Strange phenomena began to unfold within his home. Whispers and sinister laughter echoed in his ears throughout the night, and his dreams were plagued by nightmarish visions of pumpkins with malevolent, glowing eyes, trying to smother him. Fearing for his sanity and life, Alex reached out to a local priest in a desperate plea for help. But despite the priest's best efforts, the curse that now engulfed him proved unbreakable. Each passing day, the malevolent presence grew stronger. Driven by terror and desperation, Alex returned to the Hollow's harvest to confront Magnus Hollow, the enigmatic owner of the cursed patch. As he approached, he was greeted by the old man, whose eyes radiated malevolence. "You should have never come back," Magnus whispered, and his voice was saturated with an eerie, supernatural resonance. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, and from the earth emerged a grotesque, towering monstrosity, a pumpkin come to life. Its glowing eyes met Alex's, and a nightmarish grin stretched across its pumpkin face. The monstrous pumpkin creature lunged toward Alex, and the ground quaked with its footsteps. The sky darkened as it drew closer, and an eerie, bone-chilling wind howled around them. The once harmless pumpkin had been transformed into a vengeful, sentient creature. Terrified and trapped in a waking nightmare, Alex could only wonder if he would ever escape the horrors of the Hollow's harvest. The cursed pumpkin, now a monstrous entity, was on a relentless pursuit of vengeance, and Alex was its target. Story 3. Relationship can destroy you. I've had 3 significant relationships in my life. My current girlfriend, who I've been happily with for 3 years, is the latest chapter. However, I'll take you back to my college days when I first ventured into the world of dating and the tumultuous relationship with my second girlfriend, Kelly. Kelly and I initially crossed paths on Bumble. The discovery that we both attended the same college served as the foundation for our conversations. We even knew some mutual acquaintances. After about a month of getting to know each other, we decided to make it official and started dating. Those initial months felt like a fairy tale. Laughter, shared interests, and happiness filled the air. But the idyllic picture soon began to crumble. Kelly's behavior took a drastic turn. She became controlling and obsessively inquisitive about my whereabouts. Her lack of friends became evident. She only had 1 or 2. Whenever I wanted to spend time with my own friends on weekends, she bombarded me with texts every 15 minutes, demanding proof of my location. If I happened to be at a bar without her, she'd throw fits and insist on tracking my every move. Over time, her insecurity and possessiveness became unbearable. Things reached a breaking point one night when I ended up at a bar with friends, a decision I hadn't initially intended. When I returned home, Kelly was waiting outside my mom's house, wearing a disturbed expression that foreshadowed the storm to come. That night, she physically assaulted me, hurling baseless accusations and creating a spectacle for the neighbors. I had to physically restrain her to stop the violence, and that's when I decided to end the relationship for good. The aftermath was far from over. Kelly inundated me daily with long emotional texts oscillating between anger and alleged remorse. Eventually, I blocked her number for some respite. However, the ordeal took an even darker turn. A friend who still followed Kelly on Instagram sent me a screenshot of her with a menacing, muscular guy. It was clear she had moved on. I made a sarcastic comment to my friends about her upgrade. What followed, though, was beyond my imagination. One night, I was in the comfort of my home, unaware of the impending danger. I heard relentless pounding on a front door, followed by frantic phone calls and texts from a mysterious number, threatening to harm me if I didn't open the door. Terrified, I called 911. As I spoke with the operator, the man outside continued his threats and vandalism, breaking the windows of my car parked in the driveway. Looking out, I recognized him as the same guy from Kelly's Instagram post. The police arrived swiftly, apprehending the aggressor. I provided them with evidence, including texts and my damaged car, and explained the situation, that my ex-girlfriend had sent her current boyfriend to threaten me. As the man was being taken away in handcuffs, I recounted the harassment and abuse I'd endured from Kelly. The police officer advised me to file a restraining order, a step I took the next day. I even unblocked Kelly to confront her about her actions. Her response was denial and feigned ignorance, prompting me to inform her about the restraining order and suggest she seek help. Strangely, I never heard from her again, and the disturbing Instagram picture was deleted shortly afterward. Today, I have a restraining order against both Kelly and her ex-boyfriend, Javier Cruz. This experience served as a stark reminder to be cautious when choosing who to date, as there's a lot of unpredictability out there. Story 4. Ouija board experiment gone wrong. I had never ventured into the realm of a Ouija board until my mid-20s. The idea of contacting spirits held little allure for me. But my friend William was briefly involved with a girl named Amelia, who happened to be deeply fascinated by the supernatural. She introduced herself as an enthusiast in exploring abandoned and purportedly haunted places. One evening, William invited me to join them and Amelia's friend, Olivia, on an excursion to an allegedly haunted, long-abandoned house. Nestled a half-hour drive away, his persuasive pitch. Olivia's quite attractive. With no other plans that night, I reluctantly agreed. We planned to embark on this eerie adventure in the late hours. William picked me up around 11 p.m., and we proceeded to collect the girls from a nearby park. I had met Amelia once before, but Olivia was a stranger to me. Olivia bore striking auburn hair, a nose ring, and sported a sleeve tattoo on her right arm. As we awaited their arrival, Amelia revealed she had previously visited the haunted house and described it as teeming with supernatural activity. It was a term unfamiliar to me at the time. Though I could deduce its meaning, I couldn't help but chuckle internally. I held no belief in the paranormal, finding the entire concept rather amusing. Amelia arrived with a substantial bag in tow. During our drive to the destination, I couldn't resist my curiosity and inquired about its contents. She pulled out a box, revealing it to be a Ouija board, followed by a candle. William smirked and said, "Ah, that's the surprise." Apparently, Amelia's surprise for William was that we'd be using a Ouija board inside the abandoned house. To be honest, it didn't sound particularly appealing to me, but I was up for the adventure. Upon our approach, Amelia guided William to park in a pitch black street devoid of streetlights, flanked by an open field on one side and dense trees on the other. The house's driveway was obstructed by a gate, so we had to proceed on foot. We traversed through a wooded area, which led us to the house's backyard. Amelia directed us to a rear window, which she had climbed through during her previous visit. It was a bit of a climb, so we assisted the girls, and soon enough, we were all inside. The house itself was a melancholy relic of its former life, untouched by human habitation for decades. While fear rarely gripped me, I couldn't deny the eerie atmosphere within the house, especially at night. It would have been truly terrifying if I were alone. Silence reigned, broken only by our creaking footsteps on the decrepit wooden floors. On the walls hung aged portraits of individuals who seemed to hail from the 1950s, leaving me to ponder the house's history and the stories it held. Most likely, its last occupants had passed away, leaving no descendants to claim it. Once inside, Amelia arranged the Ouija board on the floor and ignited 2 candles. Her enthusiasm for the supernatural was palpable as she assumed the role of the questioner, asking a plethora of spiritual inquiries. For the initial questions like, is anyone there? Can anyone hear us? The planchette remained motionless. Eventually, it began to spell out the word hello. I exchanged glances with William, who met my gaze before we both turned our attention back to the board. The girls were serious, even requesting that we stop laughing. So I assumed a serious demeanor. Amelia continued asking for the entity's name. Slowly, the planchette moved across the board, spelling out Evelyn. She probed further, inquiring about the entity's time of death, to which it spelled out 50 years. I remained skeptical throughout, fully convinced that either Amelia or Olivia was orchestrating the responses. However, the tension in the air escalated when we heard an ominous thud from upstairs within the house. In unison, we startled and instinctively released the planchette. William questioned aloud, "Is someone up there?" Amelia was unwavering, suggesting it might be Evelyn. Amelia and Olivia resumed their positions at the Ouija board, hands placed on the planchette, and posed the question, "Evelyn, did you create that sound?" Concerned, William and I interjected, "We need to leave if someone's upstairs." But as we watched, the planchette moved to spell out a chilling response, "Yes." At this point, William and I were convinced that the girls were indeed pranking us, orchestrating these unsettling events to heighten the experience. Yet, the sound of approaching footsteps from above filled the room, shrouding our adventure in an aura of ominous uncertainty. As we stood frozen, the truth began to dawn upon us. Perhaps there was more to this haunted house than met the eye. Our skepticism wavered, and a palpable sense of dread settled in the air as we waited to discover the source of those approaching footsteps.